This is going to be the setup and tuning video for the Axis C30 Cinewoop I built a few months ago. The main reason I decided to make this build is due to I want something that is still within the 3-inch Cinewoop category and will allow me to carry a full-size GoPro. And the C30 is completely what I'm looking for, and I'm pretty happy with the end result. The parts list of this build is going to be listed down below if you're ever interested and want to build one. And if you wanted to see the speed up build video, it actually has been released as a short video, and I'm going to also leave the link down below. So without further ado, let's just jump right into how to set up the Cinewoop in BetaFlight, and we're also going to set up every motor, activate the air unit, set up the receiver whatsoever. Alright, so let's just get going. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do right now is we are going to set up the flight controller. So the flight controller for this particular one is going to have a USB-C port, which basically you're just going to come to your computer and plug in a USB-C cable. I really like about this frame is you really get like easy access to these ports. At least for this one, you don't necessarily have to unplug anything to plug it in. So once everything has been connected, we are going to go to our computer screen. In our computer screen, what you wanted to do is you're going to use the BetaFlight software, and we're just going to simply hit connect. Okay, and the first thing we have to correct is the board orientation. Currently, it's completely upside down because if you watch my video, install video, you're going to notice I intentionally installed the board upside down so I will get to access the solder pads. No problem, we're just going to fix it in the configuration tab. Just go to the configuration. And at the roll degree, you're just going to type in 180, and then you are going to save and reboot. And once it reconnects, you can see that the orientation has become positive right now, so it's correct. So if we flip our quad just to take a look, you can see that the front side is going front side is going the correct side, and the back side correct, left and right. So this has been fixed. And the second thing we're going to set up is going to be our ELRS receiver. So if you also watch my video closely, you are going to notice I set up my ELRS receiver on R4 and T4. Basically, it's going to indicate UART4. And what you have to do is you're going to enable serial RX right here. Save and reboot. Okay. And then let's go to the receiver tab. You are going to come here, select serial RX, make sure this is Crossfire. Crossfire is meant for ELRs, so select Crossfire and just gonna hit save. Since currently the radio receiver is having the same firmware and also having the same binding phrase as my radio, so they are automatically going to bind together. As for the detail setup portion, I would suggest you watch this video. It's going to be a little bit more detailed because I don't want to spend the whole time explaining this in this video. It's meant to be short and sweet. So after you're done, we're just going to hit save. So radio setup, and the next thing we are going to set up, it's going to be our air unit. So what we're going to have to do is go back to the ports tab. If you're using the plug on the FC that came with the board to connect your DJI air unit, what you have to do is enable UR6 because the default it's going to be R6 and T6. So what you have to do, enable configuration MSP right here. This is going to enable your air unit. And save and reboot. All right, so the next step, we are going to set up the motors, which this step is the most fun in my opinion. But since you are going to require to plug in your LiPo, and since we also have our VTX connected, I want you to bring out a little fan to blow on it so it does not overheat by accident. So let me just adjust it to the smallest. So it should be good enough. We want the air unit to be cooled. And you are going to plug in your LiPo at this step. Okay. Right. So let me actually move the fan to another side so it doesn't block our view. Okay. Let me flip it a little bit so we can see all the motors. Let's put it that way. Okay. Okay, back to the computer side. We are going to go to the motors tab. In the motors tab, the first thing we're going to do is to reorder the motors. Okay. You're just gonna hit I understand the risk. Normally I would want you to remove the props, but I'm lazy, and since this is ducted, I'm okay with that. Okay, so we're just basically going to select which motor is spinning, and it's going to be this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. So basically this is going to reset all the motors to the correct orientation. Okay, so save and connect. Alright, so once we are done reordering our motor orientation, the next step we are going to have to set up a motor direction. And for some reason, this motor direction function does not work. I don't know why, but I wasn't able to change it at BetaFlight, but no problem. What we have to do is we are just going to simply disconnect. Once you disconnect, you're basically going to go to this web-based configurator, basically called ESC configurator. And what you're going to do is you're going to hit connect to it. Of course, with the battery plug-in, so you get to read it, and you're going to resetting. So as we remember, this is going to be the motor default orientation. We wanted to set ESC number 1 and number 4 as normal, and we wanted to reverse ESC 2 and 3. So you basically right here, you're just going to hit reverse, reverse, and then you are going to right setting, and that should change the motor direction. Okay, and once you're done, let's disconnect. It's going to repower on. Let's close this web page, go back to BetaFlight. Of course you can test it, you can test your motors there, but I just rather test it in BetaFlight. Okay, and let's go into the motor tab again. Just hit I understand the risk and bring up the bar a little bit. You can use your little keyboard pad to slowly turn it up. Okay, so I just want to make sure that it is going this way. Okay, it is. Don't do that, you might cut yourself, but I know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to touch it so I get to know which direction it is at. Okay, let me put it up a little bit more. Okay, so make sure it spins, so it spins the direction I want. Number 2, same thing. Okay, let's test number 3. Okay, yes, this is the direction I want. Okay, so number 2 should be the same, and we're just going to stop motor, and then we can disconnect it. Okay, so the last step, what we can do right now, since we're going to tune this quad, where you can remove your battery, it does not need it anymore. And once you're done, make sure you keep the USB connected right there. And we're also going to go into BetaFlight, close it, and you're just going to go to the preset tab. So we can use the UAV Tune, which I tried it. It's generally pretty good. So UAV Tech, Cinewhoop, and medium build quality and 48K. This is correct. Dynamic idle. Let's enable this. You're just going to pick and agree. If you're using the same board as I do, the Axis F7 board, then this should work because it's pre-flash. The ESC is pre-flash to BlueJay, and most of the stuff will work, and it's 48K. So let's save and reboot. Okay, and save anyway. Okay, let's make sure everything is in sync. Okay, I'm just gonna disable air mode because I don't like it. Okay, so our PID tune is now done. I haven't tried it yet. I might adjust a little bit later on just so to make sure I like it, but it should be fine. Let's also enable bidirectional D-shot and save and reboot. Okay, so most of the BetaFlight setting has been done, and now we have to set up our radio. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go to the receiver tab to make sure our radio has been successfully bound to our receiver, which I already have the correct firmware and the correct binding phrase. So as soon as powered on, they should work automatically. Okay. So you can see that basically when I move the sticks, this is mounted. The next thing we're going to go is to set up the correct modes. And the first thing you wanted for this is going to be a arm switch. Okay, so let me delete this, accidentally pressed the wrong key. So we're just going to press auto, and I'm going to set up this switch to be my arm switch. And then you can see that, okay, we want this, when I press, I want the dots to fall into here. So now it's correct. Now let's add an angle mode, which I'm going to set up to this button, aux 2. So angle mode at the bottom. Okay. Let's add a horizon mode at the middle. So this is going to be aux 2 as well, middle. And on top, this is going to be our air mode. Okay, so once we're done, hit save. All right, so next we're going to quickly come to our bench, and we're just going to test to see if we have a successful bind. And we're just going to plug in a LiPo. Okay.
Telemetry recovered.
And we're going to press the arm switch. Okay, so this quad has now been set up, and we can just go and test fly it. If you wanted to know how to bind the DJI Air unit to your goggles, you can check the link right here because it's so repetitive. I just don't want it to show it. All right, let's go to fly this, and I'm also going to share my final thoughts about this quad. The image you are seeing right now is coming from the GoPro 11 Mini, which the weight is about 133 grams. It's slightly lighter than a full-size GoPro, but it is still going to be on the heavier side. But with the Axis C30 build, when I was flying it, I just don't feel like you're carrying something that heavy. And the quad actually feels quite nimble. And if you want, you can even push it a little bit for slight acro with a GoPro on top, and it will just perform okay. I really think this is something unique about AxisFlying. It seems that they are having a trend of pushing the limit of sizing and the carrying capacity, like smaller size with bigger carrying capacity. They're kind of like pushing the potentials of all the motors. By the way, the battery I'm currently using are the GMB 1100 mAh 6S high volt 60C battery, which I would say this one is perfect for Cinewhoops as it is relatively light and it offers optimal performance. The C rating, unfortunately, it's on the lower end at 60C, but since most of the time we will just be hovering with not much acro involved, this will be more than enough, I would say. Next, just to report, the UAV preset tuning on BetaFlight 4.4, it's good enough, but I still occasionally experience some vibration. Not sure what is the issue. I will try to pinpoint it and see if I can figure it out and update in the next video. But yeah, it's much better compared to not tuning, and if you are not pushing the quads to the extreme, it will just fly fine. Alright, so that's about it for this video, and any questions or comments, please leave it down below, and I will see you in the next video.